Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Sword. The Atlanta Braves are supposed to be the team that this time of the year rolls around and you get happiness in Atlanta, right? The Hawks aren't doing their mediocre thing, just making the playoff or making the play-in tournament. The Falcons aren't disappointing you with everything they do. You finally get some good sports from your favorite Atlanta sports teams. Well, this year, and we made the joke all offseason that couldn't possibly be worse than 2020. Couldn't possibly. Like all the things that happened in 2020, they couldn't possibly happen again. Well, we're now a week into the season, not even a week into the season. John Murphy's been on the IL, or he's missed a couple weeks of the season. Ronaldo Lopez has now been added to the IL after he hasn't looked quite right since spring training, and they hope it's right shoulder inflammation. They hope it's not going to be a long thing, but as I always say with shoulders, never a good thing. Things that can linger, and you just don't know how, even when he returns, if he's going to be the same guy he was a year ago, which was one of the many things we thought could be a problem. And then on top of all that, you're 0-5. You've looked like crap. You're not just a 0-5, you're like the worst kind of 0-5. You didn't score a run for 28 straight innings over the course of 4 games. You barely broke that streak last night with 1 home run for Michael Harris, who has looked like crap outside of that home run, just like the rest of the Braves lineup. And then Jurickson Profar, 80-game suspension handed down. So all these little Alex Verdugo signings, the Stuart Fairchild trade that we learned about yesterday, it wasn't for Jared Kelenic or Brian De La Cruz or any of those guys. It was because Jurickson Profar took steroids. And I have the funniest thing that I love every time a guy gets caught taking PEDs. I had no idea. Slipped into my cereal. Just woke up one day and, all of a sudden I was bigger, faster, stronger, healthier. Like, I had no idea this was going on. Like, I would never try to cheat. I would never try to cheat the game.
And they always say, if you ask anyone about me, they always say that. If anyone knows me.
And then you go back to who the Padres are as an organization. Well, Fernando Tatis, who's a good friend of Jurickson Profar, was done to PEDs. And then you go look at Jurickson Profar's track record, which I think is the worst part about all this, right? Yeah. Like, he's basically had no success out of anywhere outside of San Diego. This guy played in Colorado. Like, San Diego is the most pitcher-friendly park in all of baseball. Colorado is the most hitter-friendly. In San Diego in 2024, 4.3 WAR. In Colorado, negative 1.6. That's a 6 WAR difference. You think that just happened by accident? That's just a coincidence? No. It wasn't a coincidence. And the agent that he was, caught doing, I forget what it's called, and people will be like, oh, dude, it's for this. No, you know what it's for? It's for masking PED use. Masking PED use. It's the same thing Manny Ramirez got caught for. He was cheating. There's no doubt about it. And he's going to be suspended for 80 games. He's going to be ineligible for the postseason. But in the bigger picture, you got this guy signed for 3 years, $42 million. He's not going to be on steroids anymore. What kind of production are you going to get out of him? He hasn't been good in a year, except for that 2024 season. He has been a average to below average player his entire career. And all the advanced metrics suggested, he's like, this is sustainable. Yeah, if he was juiced up. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to juice up anymore. And I think you got a problem, not just for this season, which is obviously a huge problem, but the entire remainder of this contract. I don't know what the hell you're going to get out of Jurickson Profar, but I can bet you it's not going to be very good. So it's disaster.
Yeah, we're 5 games into the season, and the sky is falling, people. I don't know which one of you, because it's not me. Maybe it might be a little bit me. Somebody is not living right in Braves country. Maybe Cobb County, to be specific. Somebody needs to go to church. Somebody needs to go to repent. Somebody needs to go and do something, because we have not had anything bounce our way. I'm talking on the baseball field, off of the baseball field, and we aren't one of those organizations where we're used to this sort of a thing. And I think that's what's so bothersome about this, just the microcosm of Jurickson Profar, all the way from, the injuries last season and some of the decisions last season to this offseason to already this season. It just feels like, this is what, I don't want to say it, but like, this is what the Mets do, where what could go wrong does go wrong for some organizations. That's not us. That's not the Atlanta Braves. We are the ones who make the right decisions. We are the ones who are always, hindsight 2020, it did work out for them. That's not the case. Everything is not working out for us. The offseason, which was quiet and was criticized, is now a glaring red flag for this Atlanta Braves team. The approach that we talked so much about last year at the plate has seemingly not changed despite getting a whole new coaching staff. It feels like everybody doesn't give a you-know-what. I know that's a low-hanging fruit comment to make because obviously these guys care, but sometimes it doesn't feel like it. And now one of the reliable guys, which we did point out was maybe not so reliable after all, on the IL. The Braves don't have a ton of starting pitchers where you're like, that guy's proven. We were talking about it, and you could maybe squint and say there's two of them if you want to include Spencer Schwellenbach. I will do that. I wouldn't fault any Braves fans for saying he's not really proven because he's not really proven. I'm very high on him, but he's not really proven. We got Chris Sale. Who knows? Injury-wise, Spencer Strider, he's coming back. And while we all do think he's a freak and he is going to, pick up kind of where he left off, that's not a guarantee. We got Grant Holmes. We don't know what he's doing. AJ Smith-Shawver, very high, lots of potential. We don't know what he's doing. Don't get me started on the bullpen. It's a complete joke. We had to throw Raciel Iglesias when we were down 6-1 in the 7th or 8th inning. And while we were trying to, like Brian Snicker, outsmarting everybody or outsmarting himself, so to speak, thinking we're going to save our high-leverage guys in Game 1 against the Padres, guess what? Now you got to throw him in a meaningless game just so he gets some work. So everything that couldn't go wrong for the Atlanta Braves has gone wrong.
Yeah, and I think, we're 5 games in. I don't want to overreact too much, but it's the first time. It's the first time in a while that, and if you followed this show, if you followed me on Twitter, if you followed me anywhere, like I've been the most optimistic Braves fan that there is. I mean, when we were 10 games back in 2022, I was sitting there saying, I guarantee you we will come back and win this division. That's what we did. I mean, I predicted this team to win over 100 games this year. I predict them to win over 100 games pretty much every year, and things have gone wrong. But the one thing that I did say throughout this entire offseason, the depth at all 3 of these levels, the rotation was a problem. The bullpen, we discussed that at length, a huge issue. Not even the depth, the starters, the guys that you need, was a huge problem. And in the outfield was a huge problem. I said during the offseason, you don't need to just get one outfielder, you need to get 2, and not Alex Verdugo, like legitimate players, a Tyler O'Neill, something like that. You don't go and do that. You get one. He's suspended. Now you're looking at a bunch of crap surrounding Michael Harris, and you hope Ronald Acuna can be a savior, but you don't know what you're going to get out of Ronald Acuna coming back. I predicted even 2 months ago they'd still go get a starting pitcher because, frankly, I knew Ian Anderson wasn't going to be on this roster for long. Guess what? Guy's gone. I knew an injuries would probably pop up. Guess what? Now we got Bryce Elder in the starting rotation, and you don't have any proven guys. Like, these are all issues that
this didn't just come out of the blue.
That we could see coming. And the Braves, whether you want to blame Alex Anthopoulos or the people that are in charge making the budget, went cheap. Like, there's no other way around it. They went cheap. They didn't go out there and pay. They even though they said payroll was going to rise, it went down considerably below the luxury tax. Then you can't tell me now that didn't have a significant thing with what we're doing. And it's insane that that's a thing when you make this much money, and it's insane.
Well, I'm not the most, astute business person in the world. But when you see numbers like we're top 5 in revenue and we're barely top 15 in payroll, that should bother Braves fans. And it should bother all Braves fans, whether you're going to Truist Park in the Battery or not. Because you're giving your time to this team and you're giving your hard-earned coin to this team. And me in particular, I know for us and some of our friends, we go to a lot of games. And even the games that we don't go to, we'll go to the Battery and spend time and money there. Hard-earned money that they are seemingly just sitting on. I think that is the most bothersome aspect of kind of the offseason and this turmoil through the first 5 games. Now, could it be worse? Sure. But I think that the organization owes it to the fans who pack out that stadium as much as any ball club in the sport to put the product on the field. You see the Dodgers, they bring in a ton of money. Guess what? They immediately reinvest it into the roster via payroll.
And it's turning out pretty well.
Yeah.
They're making a hell of a lot of money doing it. We saw it's discouraging. I'll say it. It's the first time in quite some time.
The good news is that Jurickson Profar contract will be prorated. So you get like $7 million back, so to speak. Maybe they'll go out and give it to, I don't even know who's out there. Maybe there's a guy out there that you can, bring off the shelf. I don't even know if anyone's even available.
I don't think there's anybody. I mean, obviously, David Robinson's name's been David Robertson's been thrown out there. I don't think that guy's fixing all of the Atlanta Braves issues. It's a little too late to fix those. Maybe it's something at the trade deadline you can address and you can spend money there. But by that time, the way this season's going, who the hell even knows where the Braves are going to be?
About 0-5. You don't make the playoffs if you're an 0-5 baseball team many often, and never in Braves history. So this will be a first ever in this organization's very, very long and very, very illustrious history that if we make the playoffs, it will be done so after 0-5. Now, am I selling? Absolutely not. There's still way too much talent.
I think we should talk about that. I think we should talk about that coming after the break. What is the expectation for this team moving forward? Because I'm torn, I'll be honest, for the first time in quite some time.